Hey pretty people, welcome back to So Square and Cubed. I'm Jamie. Hello. I've been gone for a hot minute, but I am slowly but surely getting back into the swing of things. I was kind of shifted after the Texas snowstorm. A lot of my priorities and everything kind of fell by the wayside. So I'm getting back into the swing of things, and I thought what better a way to get back into the swing of things than to release a video talking about all of the things that really impacted me during the winter storm that kind of threw me completely off balance. Here's the deal. This is an old video that I just never posted because I didn't get to put the finishing touches on it. Just as a disclaimer, it was filmed on February 24th, if I have that date correct. I probably don't, it was probably around then, but it was back in February, so it's been about like 2 months now. So this is just gonna be like an introduction into the new era of me. I don't know what I was gonna say with that, but that sounds really cool, so we're just gonna go with that. This might be a particularly heavy video for people. The North Texas winter storm, as a lot of people do understand, was, let's just call it what it is. It's a natural disaster. There was a lot of human tragedy, some lives lost. So if you're not necessarily in a great headspace, I don't recommend this particular video for you. I am going to be having like photos of the like fun winter snow and everything, but then I'm also going to include photos of like articles about maybe some not so nice things. So if you have to skip this one, I totally understand. I don't blame you. It was hell to live through, and I got off really, really easy. So I don't blame you. If you gotta skip it, you gotta skip it. That's okay. I want to look after you. I want you to look after yourself. So I'm not bothered. Second thing, before I let everything roll, I got off very, very easy. We didn't have any problems, you know, nothing. Our power didn't even really go out except for like 45 seconds. So I don't want you to come away with this being like, oh my God, she had it so easy. She's just like complaining. I was very heavily impacted mentally by this, so much so that it's like almost 2 months later and I'm still like, I feel like I'm still set back from it. I'm still having like a lot of anxiety and, you know, it sucks. So yeah, my house was fine. Nobody passed away. Like I'm okay. Everything in my home is fine. I don't have to buy a new house. I don't have to get a new apartment. I'm okay, but my depression has been really, really, really bad, and it all kind of started around that winter storm, and it sucks. I don't control what affects me. I can only control how I deal with it and heal from it. So I want you to, if you are gonna watch this video, understand that, yeah, I had it super duper easy. I did, and I'm not saying that I didn't. But I was also very heavily mentally impacted, so I want you to keep that in mind. Please be kind, and just know that I needed this video to come out as a way of coping with the things that I went through, because it was incredibly stressful. So that's my little disclaimer for this video. I will go ahead and let it roll, and yeah, I will let it speak for itself. So I love you guys. Enjoy! Hey party people, welcome back to So Square and Cubed. I'm Jamie. Hello. This is Sean, my better half.
Oh, I'm the
or
better
my worst half. It depends.
Oh, it depends on the day.
So today I wanted to, actually both of us wanted to talk about our experience with the Texas winter storm that just passed.
A terrible time for a storm to happen.
Yeah.
I got sick. I'm still sick.
Yeah.
Throughout it. It was, I was like, oh, cool, it's snow. And then super ice, and then continuous ice, and then can't go to work. Or I did go to work, didn't want to go to work, and
I think honestly the snow was cool for like 10 minutes, and then I was like, okay, I'm over this now. Mm-hmm. We're gonna get into all of the fun nitty-gritty details in this video. However, before we actually jump in, I do want to say a couple things, as I always do. The first being, if you're not subscribed already, please go down below and do so, because if you do, you're cool. I don't know, there's not really a benefit other than you get to see more of my videos.
And leave a comment so I can see more of you. through your words.
Yeah, through your word. Paint me a word picture. Like the video if you like it, though, I mean, like, whatever. That's your whole thing.
No, like the video.
Like the hey, like the video. I will find you.
We are no longer asking.
We're no longer asking. If you want to support me in other ways outside of YouTube, you can find me on Ko-fi and Patreon. I will leave those linked down below. And if you want to get to know me outside of the YouTube sphere, I am most active on Twitter and Instagram. Leave a comment. Where are you at? Have you been experiencing winter storms? What's going on?
How bad was it for you? Let's commiserate.
And if it wasn't bad at all for you, like if maybe you live up north or in a country where it snows really often, if you have any questions about why Texas was so ill-equipped for this or why so many Texans were like whining or crying about it, let us know in the comments and I'll be happy to try and answer those as best I can. So I guess the best place to start would be Valentine's Day, I think is when the snow really started coming in.
That whole week it got really cold. Now, it snowed previously this year for, I think, a day.
Yeah, that was back in January.
Yeah. So for one day, it snowed so much you could make snowmen. But if you went outside, it wasn't like... It was cold, but it wasn't really cold.
It wasn't bad. I would say it was like maybe 30 degrees Fahrenheit. This time...
This time it was 1.
Yeah.
So it just wasn't even fun to be outside. And then it was all covered in snow. Like, you couldn't see the roads, and you also couldn't see the curbs because the snow was so high it looked like one flat mass. Oh no, wait, there was no sun. It was all overcast.
Yeah, it was all overcast for a while. So I think it started snowing like on the 13th. It started like with a very light dusting of snow very late at night. It wasn't too bad. We were like looking out the windows like, oh my god, snow, whoa, amazing, yay. And then like the true Texans we were like, okay, this is going to be over in like 5-15 minutes, let's go eat. So we got food. We did have the, I guess the foresight to get canned goods and bread and milk and stuff before it really got bad,
yeah,
I think.
Because it was supposed to snow for the rest of the week. It's really snowy, it might be icy, so before that we did get a little preliminary groceries.
Yeah.
And that was a good idea.
It turned out to be a very good idea because I think even still some grocery stores are completely wiped. On the 13th it was all good. Valentine's Day, we both got Valentine's Day off of work. Or no, actually you went to go work in the morning.
Yeah, I worked in the morning.
You worked that morning, so he drove basically on fresh snow to work, and it still wasn't that bad. We had to de-ice your car a little bit, I think, but like...
Yeah, that was the longest.
Yeah, it wasn't terrible, it just was really cold. Sean doesn't really have a lot of like cold weather gear. The only reason I do is because a long time ago I had a car that didn't have any heat in it whatsoever, so I bought some gloves that could like withstand, I think, like 20-degree weather. And even then, if you were standing outside too long with those on, you would start to feel it in your fingers, and they're thick. But so I dressed up, I put on pajama pants, and then I put sweatpants on top of that, and then I stuffed the in-between layer of pants with grocery bags. And then I had on like 4 different shirts, 2 jackets, my gloves, and a hat. It was weird. It was weird. And then by the time Sean got home, I think we maybe had just an inch or 2 of snow on the ground. And it was Valentine's Day, so we were celebrating. We made steak and potatoes and Brussels sprouts. Like, we had a nice like fun dinner and created a lot of dishes, which will come into play later. And then I would say it was probably about that night, right, that we got up to like 2 or 3 inches of snow? Yeah.
So we got all that extra snow, and I was up all night because around then I was sick. Throughout this, I was pretty much incapacitated because I couldn't really eat too much, and because of that, you need to eat to have energy.
Yeah.
So without eating a lot, I had no energy, and all I could really do was sleep. And then I still had to make it to work when I could. And it was a whole mess. It was like the worst time to get sick because not only did things freeze over, and they froze over in a bad way. A lot of people got into accidents. I think I went to go drop off the rent check or the...
Oh, that's right. In the middle of all of this, we had to sign the new lease for our apartment they don't do anything electronically, basically. Yeah. Like, you can't pay rent electronically. You have to physically mail a check. We tried to run it up there, but everything was closed because of the snow and the ice.
Yeah, so when I ran it up there, it was, I had to go on the highway, and I was going like 30 on the highway, 30, maybe 35 to get all the way over there. And the roads were, for the most part, kind of clear. It was probably about like 12, 15 vehicles total that I saw on the way there, but some cars were going fast, and I was like, oh, it's a bad idea. And you can see them kind of skitter when they went under bridges, because if you went under a bridge, the ice there was still completely like cold and frozen instead of the ones that are kind of out in the sun. And I remember getting up there finally and into the parking lot, and it's like a outlet type of thing, the area we drop it off. It's like multi-buildings outside.
Yeah, it's like a weird shopping center.
Yeah, it's like a FedEx, it's a Pizza Hut or Caesars, and then some other stuff. So the parking lot looked like fine. I was like, oh, okay. And so as soon as I turn into the parking lot, I just immediately start skidding, and I look at the ground, and it's not melted, it's all like black ice. Yeah, that's how it was, and a lot of people don't realize that, and some people just drive poorly anyway.
Yeah.
And then they see that. Then on the way home, that's when I saw a van that just couldn't stop at a stop sign, just goes into like a little grass ditch. I'm sure they got themselves out at time, but like, yeah, and it was just like you were just seeing like the past, you know.
Yeah.
When I was driving up there, you could see like tire tracks that went from the road, and you could see them into the grass, but you couldn't see the car anymore. You could just tell that's, you know,
somebody
put your hand on the ground. Someone swerved here.
Someone's been here.
Someone's been here. Obviously, there was a huge car pile up on, I forget what highway.
Oh, shoot. I think that was on I-35.
Something like that.
There was like 100+ car pile up.
When you looked at the pictures, there was cars that were
like upside down and on top.
Yeah, on top of another car. And I'm like, how did they get on top of another car? Like, it was just like sitting on it, like someone picked it up and placed it there. And like, how did that series of events happen?
And it really sucks. I think like 7 people died. There was the ice, there were the warnings like, hey, don't drive if you don't have to. And really, like, a lot of Northerners specifically, or a lot of people who like deal with snow all the time are just like, why are y'all saying the roads are dangerous? We don't understand. And in Texas, you will maybe have 1 salt truck for every 4 cities, and you will maybe have 1 snowplow attachment for every 4 or 5 cities, because we just don't get snow here. We usually get like sleet or slush. Yeah,
occasionally it'll be icy. I mean, last time it was icy, you could tell it was icy, but people were still dealing with it pretty well, because you could just see the ice on the ground. There was a couple of accidents then too, but it was just a couple. This time was like that times 5. It was, instead of previously where it was like, here, it's ice for a day and a half, because the second day the sun's already melting it.
Yeah.
And not this time around.
This time around, I think it snowed, at least over here, I think it snowed for like almost 2 days straight.
Yeah.
And then we had a little bit of a reprieve. But then we started getting notices to conserve electricity.
Oh, yeah.
Because the grid, essentially, how would you describe it? Like, Texas is mostly natural gas and coal powered, but none of these energy production facilities were winterized at all. Mm-hmm. Because ERCOT and the people who run ERCOT, took a gamble and essentially said, well, there's no way that it's going to get bad enough to freeze our production facilities, so we're not going to winterize them. And they've been told they should winterize since like the 80s, I think.
Yeah, they took a gamble. Well, we'll save a couple of money here and not do anything, because why?
It backfired.
It backfired big, because they had so many rolling blackouts.
Well, we were supposed to have rolling blackouts, and then there were some people who the blackouts never actually rolled, and they were without power. I think the longest person I saw, they were without power for like 80 hours. And there's still some people in our city without power. When it's 1 degree outside, with a wind chill that makes it feel like it's -5 or something.
Yeah.
Not having electricity means you can't heat your home or heat water to clean with or do anything like cook or bathe.
No electricity, no heat, and then for the people that did use heat, if you were part of a certain electrical company that based their averages on, how useful electricity is, they got gouged incredibly. Thousands of dollars, up to, I think I saw one was like $10,000 for electricity for like 3 days.
Yeah.
And that even shouldn't be possible.
And even us, like, we're looking at our electricity and, like, we were conserving. When he was at work, I work from home right now. So obviously I have to use my computer, but he came home one day and I was literally, the sun had set and I had candles lit at my desk so I could see. Because I didn't want to turn on a bunch of different lights to have to use electricity when I didn't need to.
Yeah, you were just in the dark.
Yeah, literally, there was one day you came home and I was just sitting in the dark. And then you turned the light on and I turned it back when you left the room.
The problem with that is that you weren't sure how much they were charging us, because if I look on my electricity profile, it shows that we've used like 20% less electricity than last month, and yet our forecasted bill is 3 times as high.
Yeah, so somehow we used less electricity, but it costs more. And the reason it costs more is because our electric company was getting charged for every kilowatt hour. They were getting charged like, 200% more or something than they should have been. So they were passing on those costs to their customers. I think it's gotten to a point now where so many people have complained, especially to the Attorney General, that they might rescind this price gouging.
Hopefully. It's nearly impossible for some people to even pay.
Yeah.
There's already this thing with, we're not going to go too deep into this, that, American medicine and all this stuff is already expensive. There's already like a certain percentage of Americans can't afford a $400 emergency.
Yeah.
And then this is like thousands of dollars of electricity, which is like nothing. Just don't charge it that. Yeah.
And some people are even being charged these thousands of dollars when they didn't actually have electricity.
Oh yeah, some people didn't even have power that were being charged.
So we had electricity that whole week, but we were trying really hard to conserve, because the more that we could conserve and the more that everybody else could conserve electricity, the sooner we could get everybody back on the grid.
Yeah, so we're doing heavy conservation.
Yeah.
And, minimal lighting. And because we don't have the lighting, and then the water, because, to keep the pipes running so they don't freeze.
Yeah.
Which some people didn't know about that.
I mean, our apartment was pretty good about the last time it snowed. They came around and gave everybody a notice saying, hey, don't forget to drip all of your faucets. But my best friends at their apartment complex, somebody below them didn't drip any of their pipes or faucets or anything, and all of their pipes burst. So now water is shut down for the whole building, I think still. In conserving our electricity, I was also trying to conserve hot water because we have an electric hot water heater. So the more hot water we use, the more electricity we're going to use to get more hot water.
Yeah.
So we were trying to be very minimal about washing dishes, because I can't wash dishes without hot water. It drives me crazy. Like, it's a texture thing, I guess. So we're eating at home and we are still cooking and everything as best we can to minimize the electricity we're using. So we're creating dishes. And then I think on Wednesday we got a water conservation notice from the city. I think on their Facebook they were like, try to minimize it to one big task a day. So like
choose.
Yeah, choose. You can either take a shower, you can wash your dishes, or you can wash your clothes, but you can't do all 3. And some people at this point still didn't have power or water, so they couldn't do any of them anyways. So at this point, all of our dishes are dirty, and we get a notice that we need to use minimal water, which we've already been using minimal water because we're trying to save electricity too. So I panic and I put an order in at Target for a bunch of like paper dishes and plasticware and stuff that we can just throw away because we don't have the water or the electricity to wash dishes. And it's like simple stuff like that you wouldn't think would be an issue. But essentially, I mean, some places had it really bad. the city my mom lives in was like level 3 water conservation. I really don't understand it, but the city my sister lives in, she was without power for a little bit, and then they got a boil water notice, and it's like, how are you supposed to boil water if you don't have electricity? So they lucked out and were able to get bottled water. It was hard to basically like not do anything for a week and just put your life on pause for a week, aside from going to work and then coming home.
Yeah, and on top of that, we have like the dishes piling up. We have clothes piling up, and it kind of just really starts to depress you. It's like can't do anything. When we finally were able to take a shower, it was like a miracle, you know?
Yeah, we took together, I think it was like a 10-minute shower. The conservation ended after like, what, 4 or 5 days, I think? I don't even know.
I think about that, yeah.
And I cannot tell you, I was so excited to wash dishes. And like, what's so unfortunate is like, yeah, we still had a really crappy time, but we were probably some of the luckiest people in the Metroplex.
Very much were lucky. A lot of people had nothing at all, and a lot of people just died to the cold. Just couldn't handle it. So many unnecessary deaths because of our terrible like political system that works behind it, and all the companies with all their fingers in there. And I think hopefully a lot of people realize how bad our system is, and they can vote to change it, because there's really not a lot we can do besides vote and complain.
You can joke and say, well, it's just cold, we deal with it all the time. Or you can joke and say, like, well, you live in a red state, you deserve, you deserve to die, basically. And like, hey, I just want to point out that a lot of Democrats or liberal or however you want to put it, a lot of non-Republican people live in these states and are basically held hostage due to gerrymandering by Republicans. And like, if you're Republican, that's totally cool and fine, because then you always get your way. But if you're not Republican, that sucks, because then you barely ever get even a foot in the door. Mm-hmm. And for a bunch of people on Twitter to be saying like, well, who gives a shit about Texans? They live in a red state, they all deserve to die. Like, hey, that sucks. A literal 11-year-old boy died in his bed from hypothermia because their home didn't have power and didn't have heat. And I don't know how to tell you that you should feel empathy for your fellow man, whether they voted for whoever. Like, you shouldn't wish death on somebody during a natural disaster. This was literally classified as a natural disaster for Texas. Mm-hmm. We're equipped to deal with 113 to 120 degree Fahrenheit weather, not -5. I mean, our apartment is not insulated probably at all. Like, our neighbors, for sure, they can literally hear us right now, and probably crystal clear. Our homes are not set up with keeping heat trapped in mind. Our homes are set up with letting as much heat out as possible and keeping in the cold.
It's how do you like react to that, when California was like on fire, I wasn't laughing at that. I was like, they really need help. They need to push back to the, create the staged brush fires and stuff like that. And there was no, well, there goes your homes, lol. Can't get angry at these losers. We gotta remember that not everyone is like that. Not everyone is like that, and a lot of people have proved it. AOC was able to raise just now $5 million for Texas. Yes. This isn't even her.
This is not even her state. We literally cannot vote for her.
Yeah, Beto O'Rourke planned a whole bunch of stuff. Mm-hmm. Everyone besides Ted Cruz did something. I think he handed out water after he had to forced to come back home from his Cancun vacation. That's the problem. Hopefully, people will see that problem. But yeah, it is a terrible scenario. It was a terrible scenario, and it really showed the lack of preparedness and, in some cases, the lack of empathy.
It's an embarrassment on our local government. It's an embarrassment to whoever those 5 people who resigned who were running ERCOT or whatever. Like, it's an embarrassment. Mm-hmm. But even more than that, like, it's an actual human tragedy. Lives were lost. People are in thousands and thousands of dollars of debt that they cannot hope to pay back. And meanwhile, a bunch of people on Twitter are saying, oh, haha, Texas, can't get your shit together, huh? That sucks to be you. And it's just, like, it's terrible. And even living through, like, we got off so easy. Mm-hmm. But basically being forced through a week of, like, you get to sit in the dark and you can't do any of the things that you need to do, like laundry, which is important. Especially for like sanitary reasons, like you can't hardly do anything. It sucks. And we had it probably the easiest, and we're still affected by it. Like,
yeah, like we still have stuff to deal with, and we've got it easy. So like some of the people some people just lost their homes because of the stuff. Some people will have to go somewhere else until their pipes are fixed. They're still leaking.
Yeah.
And so I mean, despite like if you go outside right now, it's probably a cool, balmy 50 outside.
Yeah.
It's probably a little warm. Like
feels great out now.
Yeah, it feels great out now. I think yesterday I had to turn on the AC because it was too hot.
Yeah.
So that's how it goes. Oh, on top of that, like COVID still exists. Like
yeah,
it's not gone at all. So you still need to wear your mask and be careful and be careful what you touch, and being in areas with too many people. So.
And this is during a time where we're losing electricity. So our government is telling us that everyone inside of your homes should all gather in the smallest room in your house and all sleep together and close all the doors and the windows and put blankets over everything. Mm-hmm. So it's like, what do you do in the event that someone in your house is sick with COVID? You can't all get in a small tiny room together like that to keep warm. And it's just, on top of that, some people were having to go stay with their family members. So honestly, like, I just wouldn't be surprised if this is another super spreader event. But I honestly wouldn't blame anybody for it, because what could you have done,
All of that. So it was a completely rough time. It was a unique event. Nothing like that at all after how long I lived here.
Yeah, that's our cue to go to bed soon. For now, we can just take it one day at a time. We're super lucky, and those who weren't as lucky as us, I really hope they get some help soon. All right, party people, thank you so much for watching. I love you. Stay cool, stay cubed, and I will see you in the next one. Mwah. Toodles.
Bye.